everybody. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. Thank you so much for your viewership. And before we get started on today's topic, which is really understanding how to stay firm, stay strong, stay solid when you are faced with a hover attempt where someone is trying to get you back. They're trying to trigger you back into the relationship, or it's still presenting in your life, even if this person you've gone no contact. But before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your contributions, stepping up to the plate, putting some skin in your own game, and investing in yourself. It will come back to you tenfold. And thank you so much. I'm not quite sure the location of you all, but God bless. Thank you so much for your donations. It's really viewers like you that make it worthwhile for me to hear that we are making a positive impact. So thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege. And absolutely, if those of you want to participate and give back to the channel, if we've been a positive source of influence or resource for you, absolutely, you can go to our homepage here at the About page of Peace and Harmony here on YouTube, and there's a little PayPal Donate Now button. Thank you so much. So we're going to get started and zoom in and really identify how to stay strong, how to not get seduced, sucked, sizzled back in when you are triggered by a female psychopath. And so when we talk about triggers, it's things that get you off, things that set you triggered, things that set you, going back to them, or things that set you thinking about them in a ruminating basis where, your moods might be fluctuating a lot. In other words, there's a certain degree of work or trepidation or fear that you're still coming to grips with. You're still working through. You're still calming down through your neurological system, which has been set to fight or flight. It's still kind of wiring and firing. Think of it kind of like an engine that keeps like sputtering even after the engine is turned off. It's just kind of going. Something is a malfunctioning, and you want to calm down those ruminations. You want to calm down those intrusive thoughts. You want to calm down the feeling of being brainwashed and gaslighting, where you're kind of doubting yourself. You don't know quite what you want. It's feeling kind of murky in there. It's feeling kind of like you're beating yourself up, or you're still sabotaging yourself. You're still acting out the pattern that was set in place by this individual. And so if you look at your triggers, it's very important for you to know what your individual triggers are and what they mean. So for example, if this was a parent figure and you had to pacify them, get their approval, get their validation, yet you were negated in the process. So you're feeling, like you have to respond and reply to an authority that isn't authority, a mother figure that isn't a mother. You have to create a feeling of yes, ma'am, when there was no nurturing. So it's trying to come up with a very traumatized feeling that takes you on the up and down, and the down low and the way up high because of your anger. Now, anger can be a huge source of the addiction and the continuing of the ruminating thoughts and the intrusive thoughts. So those are like set into motion. There is a momentum. There is, your wiring and firing from your limbic system, from your reptilian brain. It's the brain stem. It's the million years old part of the brain that's on automatic pilot, which was, hey, this is a thorn here. This ain't no rose. You're still feeling the sting. You're still feeling the thorn. You're still feeling that. And it's not injecting you with a positive. It's injected you with a trigger. So if you have been triggered to this, and realize then if this was a family figure, then a lot of your interactions, a lot of your design and dynamics of your interactions are going to seek to play this out or resolve this. Or so if you see, over aggression or anger or despondency in other settings, then there's going to be a connection from that. In other words, if you didn't have that sort of, warm, fuzzy, nurturing, guiding, loving, and affection, helping to raise you, that, then you need to realize that that is going to be a need, and you need to look to things like Mother Earth. You need to find that nurturing from other sources that, will serve as that unconditional love and support that will give that to you no matter what. It doesn't matter if your sacks match, your hair's combed, whatever, you are loved, unequivocally, unconditionally. And so you need to really kind of pull up and then work on those feelings to help, reset the triggers and become very diligent at neutralizing these triggers. Neutralizing meaning get resolved. So if the anger, if the feeling is a lot of anger, then understand then how the anger is playing out in your life and causing perhaps resentment or other addictions, addicted to disappointment, addicted to the depression. You can be in a very rigid emotional state where you feel like you don't quite have the flexibility or the spontaneity that you want because of this. This is because of this situation and how this person was a very crucial or significant part of that original dynamic. So it's very important to identify, pull back from the trigger and say, okay, that was the cause that has created this effect, but that is not me. Think of it almost as if, it's a passing cloud, but the cloud was there for a long time. You're like, this cloud has been stuck around like for a long time, and it's kind of dark and luminous, and it's kind of like overshadowed a lot of things that I've gone through, and it's kind of like living in a very rainy climate all the time. And I could use some vitamin D. I could use some sunlight. I could use some barefoot walking. I could use some wearing some shorts. I could use some carefree loving. I need to get beyond this rigid feeling of having this looming over me. That's really what this relationship it's like. It's kind of like a dark cloud that's hung around for a long time. But now that that is gone, no longer in your view, no longer in your viewfinder, you need to then reset and neutralize that trigger. And so realizing and make commands to the subconscious mind, this is no longer in my viewfinder, and it is a beautiful day. That dark cloud is no longer in my viewfinder, and it is a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. I love being free. I love being off and free of that dark cloud. I love having time away and enjoying and basking in all the finer things of life. And I can take it in now. That cloud has moved, and that cloud is not me. I am a person. I've got my feet on the ground. I am here. I am moving. That cloud is over there, and I don't need to walk underneath it. It's going to be over there. But that was the cause that's created the effect in my life. So now it's so good to say it's a beautiful day. I enjoy the sunshine, and this is the life that I'm entitled to and I deserve. This is my life. And I determine the feelings that I feel, the decisions that I make, the behaviors that I make. And I do this in a direction that is the life of my desire and the life of my dream, and not the dream of another or the negative desire of another. I'm no longer fulfilling the negative desire of this psychopath. That is their desire. That has nothing to do with me. That desire, that negative desire does not live in here. So when you make those commands, that will effectively remove that from you, from your programming, from the hardwire. It needs to be repeated. It needs to be acknowledged and validated. You need to be diligent with neutralizing this trigger. You need to stay with it. It will occur, and realize that this is the one thing you have been looking for. This is like the feeling. This is the life, that you feel free then to explore, to go and have relationships without this dark cloud. I mean, perhaps, and you no longer know the detail of it anymore. In fact, it's okay. You don't have to know, you don't have to keep the galoshes around. You don't have to keep the, the umbrella. You don't have to keep, the flashlight that, that can see through the fog. you have that within you. It is installed within you. It's not something outside of you. You have it automatically generating now. So it is to understand that you must step aside from the cause that's created this effect. It is a cause. So the cause is not in here, in you. The cause is there in this psychopathic individual. So they will control. They will get as much as they can for as long as they can. And if it's a family member, well, woe is me. I mean, that, makes it important for you to have the scissors. You're cutting the ribbon on, breaking new ground. You're opening up the new mall. You're opening up the new restaurant. You're at the grand opening for the new hotel, the Plaza Suite, whatever it is. You have to be the one to cut it. Now, you might have had looks of disdain, anger, the devouring looks when you were trying to pull away, but that's when you were in interaction with them. It's important for you to not have that discourse with that. You have the discourse within yourself now. So you now put a new cause within that creates a new effect. So you have to be very diligent with neutralizing this. Neutralizing is a very calm, indifferent. So, and it's not a judging, it's not in a state of judging, saying this is good, this is bad. It is coming to a very neutral and peaceful state, and then becoming mindful of that, and then embracing that, and then growing from there, and knowing that's your new bottom, that's your new baseline, is that neutrality, so that the trigger no longer lives within you. And so to be indifferent, to get to that stage, to be able to resist, is to say, I unequivocally know beyond the shadow of a doubt that this person is ABC. They possess these traits, they possess these qualities, this has happened, and I no longer want anything to do with that negative and destruction. That destruction is not going to work out into self-sabotage, where I'm having to, sabotaging myself and being underemployed or unemployed, or feeling scared, feeling dehumanized, feeling like I've got nothing but mush going on. I'm, terrified. I no longer want to feel those feelings. So it is to neutralize. It's to be committed. It's to say, I know this now. I have an awareness. I am now filled with joy and positivity and light from this awareness. And then, so a state of indifference, meaning I'm going to be dispassionate when I think about this. I'm no longer going to have a high or a low as it comes to that trigger. I'm going to be completely objective and neutral. So it's kind of like disinterested. It concerns me when, people who are, really interested in this abuser. And it's important to learn and study, but it's very important to become not fascinated, I would say, because to do that would be to call forth or be open to additional manipulation and being re-triggered. So once you really pave through that, once you are committed, committed 100%. You can't be, well, I'm kind of sure that this happened. This might have happened. This might not be a good relationship for me. I kind of feel that way, but it's difficult for me to make a decision, because to me that would be to admit, and then so the admittance, if that is what's holding you back, you need to come to radical acceptance, to admit, my parent was this, my spouse was this, my boss was this, my sibling was this, my fiance was this. It was. Period. End of story. That's it. Boom, done. You need to come to that sort of commitment, and then done. It's done. And once you can do that, you're putting a boundary to that, and you will, and then a standard, so you will not allow yourself to be re-triggered. Because how fun is it to be re-triggered all the time? How much do you want to have those ruminating thoughts? How much do you want to have the nightmares? It's a sign that has been a trigger and is getting you to react. So to get out of that reactive state, you want to be completely neutral and indifferent, and be very, very diligent with neutralizing it. So commands to yourself. I'm completely indifferent to what they're doing. I'm completely disinterested in what they're doing. I have no feeling with regards to what they're doing. I do not care what they're doing. Even though it's new for me, I don't care what they're doing. It is the right thing to not care for what they're doing. It is the right thing for me and for everybody and the world at large to distance myself and to be disinterested in what they are doing and how they are acting. It is okay. And I am protected in this because I call forth self-protection in this commitment. And I trust in really the laws of the universe to deliver me to that new solid ground where it is fertile, and then I will grow in that new place where I'm planted. So when I make this commitment, I am putting myself on fertile ground for new thoughts, behaviors, and emotions to manifest and spring forth in my life. I can only do this once I've clearly set a boundary and declared with this commitment that my life is on fertile ground and I am here. And this ground will spring forth once I make this declaration. And this I know to be so, and I speak this forward in faith. This I know to be the case. K-N-O-W, not N-O, K-N-O-W. And once you do that, and then you realize that life will become a new day, your life is a fertile ground for positive seeds to germinate and flow and grow and become. And not where you are triggered, but they're coming from a clean place, a positive place, a whole place within you, and not a triggered place, not a defense mechanism place where I better do this to protect, it is about what you want. And it's a confidence that you can protect it, i.e. keep the neutral indifference that is over there, and I am here, and that is okay to declare. Even though it might have, seemed wrong for me to say, I don't want you anymore, or I can't have this in my life because this, because that, because you're my mother, your sister, my fiance, things that I have invested, all the excuses, all the things that keep you tied and attached. Begin to melt those away and sever those now with the passion of your commitment. When you do that, a huge life will open up for you. And like in my appointment book, which I definitely recommend, you all have an appointment book to make sure you schedule your recovery date, your recovery gift. Big results require big affirmations. So if you want, that's what it says coming up for me this week. If you want big results, these are going to require big affirmations. Let's plug in big astramations, meaning they are spoken out loud. They are shouted to the universe. You want the entire universe to hear you. Your pleas, your astramations, your declarations will not fall on deaf ears. You will be heard. You will be validated. Your fertile life will spring up. And it will continue to spring up for weeks, months, and years if you allow that positive guidance to be evoked within your life. And then when you think about this video in a couple months, in a couple years, in a couple weeks, and all of a sudden you're standing at a beautiful vista overlooking a bridge with water or sailboats, and you find yourself taking that boat ride that you wanted, or going on that gondola, or in that little restaurant, and you're able to relax and say, this is the good life, this is me, and you're able to hang ten and relax, and you're like, oh, peace and harmony, I've arrived, it has arrived, life has arrived, fertile ground has arrived. You'll understand the power of commitment. You'll understand the power of decision making. You'll understand the power of neutralizing the trigger and no longer being driven by that or the defense mechanisms that has caused that to be put into place. Once again, the defense mechanisms are all the things you've had to do to protect yourself, oftentimes even anger and being addicted to anger or having anger problems is a defense mechanism. You're always angry all the time. You're blowing your gasket, you're blowing a stack, you're hot under the collar, you're overreactive. those are a result oftentimes of these very, very primordial triggers that have been set up from the anger instilled by these psychopathic relationships. Especially if this was a female in your life. And then always acknowledge and validate. And this is from a good snippet or decision, or I'm sorry, a synopsis that a viewer had made on one of my videos. And she had stated, and always look for beliefs that may be distorted. So once again, we're going a little long, but that's going to be okay. The psychopath will hitherto have you believe distorted beliefs about yourself and what you're capable of. Period, end of story. If they can dampen your light, if they can slow your growth, if they can make you feel that you're dead inside, they can devour you with a look, they can trigger you, they can get you into the fawn mode, OMG, you feel like you've been hit by a stun gun, and it's that blank look, it's that blank stare, like, whoa, I don't know what that is. And it's like, I call it the emotional gaper's block. Oh my God, like you just saw a huge crater. Like you get disoriented. It's so dizzying, the depths. And then from where you are, you can feel the depths and you're like, whoa, like I might almost fall in because I don't have a sense of perspective. I don't have depth, perception right now. I can't get perspective. Like, I don't know where I am. Where's now north? What do you mean north, south? You feel very disoriented. It'll literally cause you to feel disoriented in your own body. Not knowing where, it'll make you feel lost. Like, it'll cause CPSD. It'll cause these sort of effects in your life where you lose perspective. Just like, even babies, there's been tests that have shown that, when they crawl, they're beginning to get awareness of depth perception when they crawl on like a cube and then it's a clear glass and then they see that the cube drops down, babies have a sense of depth perception. It's like, whoa, they know not to go there. So it's like, and it's to realize that, the psychopath is like, no, like they give you those distorted self-beliefs. You can't do it. You're ugly. You're too vain. You're too self-proud. They're saying it's a projection and you're just trying to live your life. You're just trying to cook a dinner. What do you think you are? You're just trying to, go humming along and you're just getting cut all the time, anywhere for anything. You're getting undercut under the knees. You can't breathe right. You can't shut a door right. You know what I'm talking about. And so they will get you by distorting your beliefs about yourself. Do you see how they're able to take you down, render you helpless? It's like the cat and mouse. Look who's got who. Look who won. So it's always about the win for them. And believe me, it gets worse with time. It's not like you go, oh, they're older now. Maybe they're, going to be more docile. No. I've met psychopaths who lie about their age, who have 7 wives, who say they don't smoke. And they've got, ashtrays, basically, right next to them, in their smoking jacket, tobacco on their beard. And they have 7 wives and they've married, people who are 30 and 40 years younger than them. And then they have no sense of responsibility or accountability to them. These are the hallmark traits. Be able to have the courage to call it what it is and don't feel that life has done you wrong. It's actually meant to give you, be a stronger person, but you need to, acknowledge these tools so you can get to that fertile ground and make sure that toxic sludge that they're putting out don't come over where you are. And then, and be careful to realize how these distorted beliefs have been set in place. You can't do this. You can't let, and then, be able to then protect these self-beliefs and then furnish and water and nurture these and fertilize them, and do not share them with these individuals. Do not, before your embryo has grown, don't put it in the sun to bake and then kill the seed. Keep it to yourself. And once you stay with it, and then you've got the little bit of, roots within you, the fertile ground, you've experienced it a couple times. The garden of life, you keep going back out and it's grown and it's better and it's better. then you will see that external reality is now validating your positive self-beliefs. And you will see that you will then become a match to better, healthier people who are a match for that healed energy. And it'll be right where you need it, but you need to be persistent. You need to keep the faith, and that you now need to let go of that fight or flight, that fear, come into a peaceful body, and then begin to keep that vision of what you want. And once again, prime yourself with all those things. Begin to take action and be decisive, and utilize that higher part of you, the prefrontal cortex, that is able to envision, decide, have good judgment. And really, the more you use it, the better it'll be, the more strong and solid it will be. You can do this. Give it a chance, give it a try. It will work. And I love to hear back from you. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.